Hello, everyone. Welcome to MCD live session today. And today we will be discussing how conflicts, even the kind of conflicts that can actually that we believe are supposed to not be really good for relationships, can actually be good for a relationship. Conflicts are usually seen as something that breaks down a relationship. You might have very often heard about how good couples don't argue, how happy families don't have arguments, don't have disagreements. And, if you have a conflict, you would, get people tell you that if they actually loved you, they would probably just understand you instead of having an argument, having a conflict, right? But we can challenge this idea. This belief can be challenged that good relationships do not have conflicts. This is a belief that can be challenged. Relationships can prosper. Relationships can exist with conflict. And healthy relationships are the relationships where people know how to repair after conflict, and they know that even during a conflict they are not crossing an irreparable boundary. Conflict is not basically the issue. The issue is when we don't understand how to approach conflict. Does conflict become an opportunity for you to understand each other better despite of your differences? Does it help you understand each other's perspective better? Or it damages your trust. Like, what is it doing? And that explains the whole relationship that you have moving forward, because a conflict may or may not damage a relationship. No two people in the world can be exactly the same, and you may have your differences. Now, what decides the future of a relationship is how respectable you are towards those differences. What makes you respect each other? Or what exactly is it about your relationship that makes it, sustainable in the future, or maybe break down at the moment? So, if it is breaking down after a conflict, maybe the relationship was never meant to be. Or maybe you're approaching it the wrong way. And if you learn how to approach it the right way, maybe you are able to save it if you really want to save it. So this challenge just the belief that good relationships cannot have arguments. People do have arguments all the time. The only thing that differs is the approach during the conflict and post conflict, how you approach it, how you deal with each other. Before we start off again with our session, I really want all of you to sit comfortably and try to, of course, set an intention before we move forward, and try to set the intention for regarding whatever you want to gain out of this session today. If you want to genuinely learn and absorb the information, so maybe you can learn the skill and implement it later in life, whatever it is. What do you want to gain out of today's session? What is it that makes you sit there and listen to this? What is it that makes you reflect on how you will be viewing relationships in the future, and how you will be viewing your conflicts in the future? Set your intention, and let's try to become more present in this session mentally before we move forward and proceed with the discussion on the topic. I want you to relax your body, put your feet on the ground, and I want you to place your hands on your thighs, leave them free, leave them relaxed. And if you feel like your shoulders are tense, kind of try to relax your shoulders. Try to move them down and relax them. And try to just focus on quietly thinking to yourself about the last time you actually had a positive interaction with someone you love, someone you um, absolutely adore in your life, and you had a positive relationship, positive interaction with them. I want you to think about it. Why do you think about that positive interaction that you may have had the last time you had it? And maybe that positive interaction was because you value that person. You value that person a lot. And that's the reason you had that positive interaction with them. And is it the same person who gets to see the best version of yourself? Is it the same person who gets to be with the best version of you? By any chance, can you also think about the last time you did not have a very pleasant interaction with this person? Probably what you may define as a negative interaction. With the same person, you had a positive one. What happened? What was it? What was it about? How did you react in that moment? What happened in that moment when you were having that interaction with them? Try to focus on the person. Try to focus on how you were reacting. Your focus should not be on the conflict. Your focus should be primarily on the person and you. How did it make you feel? Did the conflict feel larger or bigger than your relationship with them at that point? What was it? Try to focus on what meant more to you, the person or the conflict. And now take a deep breath with me in through your nose and breathe out from your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out from your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out from your mouth. If I think about it, if I think about the conflict, of course, the person means more to me than the conflict. And the conflict happened. And my approach to that conflict was much different than how it would have been years back. Because I just started to view the conflict in a very different perspective than I viewed it before, because I value the person. And at the same time, I do not want to avoid conflicts because avoiding conflicts is not a healthier uh, defense mechanism, as we say. It's not a healthy way out. The healthy way out is to change and correct the way you approach a conflict. So we are going to discuss about the four habits that actually, disturb or damage a relationship. And we'll be talking about how we can better approach a relationship. So we will be talking about that today. And just a second. So yeah, just a second. So, in a research by John Gottman, he noticed that there are certain communication patterns that appeared again and again in relationships that were struggling. And he called these patterns as the four horsemen because over time they quietly predicted the relationship deterioration if they become a regular way of communicating. If you are regularizing those patterns in your daily interaction, of course, they tend to destroy and damage your relationship. And you are making those patterns a way of communication, a way of normal communication. Encouraging part in the news about all this is that these patterns are habits and not personality traits that can become permanent. If you want to change and if you recognize these patterns, you can actually change them. You can actually remove them. So they are not personality traits. These are just mere habits, right? So these can be recognized, these can be interrupted, these can be replaced with healthier ways of communicating. So, first of all, we need to recognize. And the first horseman is criticism. Now, criticism is not the same as sharing a concern or sharing a worry or a complaint. Every healthy relationship needs room for complaints. And if something actually hurts you, it disappoints you, or it frustrates you, then what should you do? You should absolutely be able to talk about it. You should be able to communicate it. The problem begins when we stop talking about the behavior and start attacking the person's character. Now, if your partner, he or she forgot to call you, what is the healthy way to talk about it? A healthy complaint might actually sound like, I felt worried when you didn't call me. I would really appreciate it if you could call me, or let me know the next time if you're not able to call, right? Now that is a healthier way to communicate. It's not offensive. You shared why you would appreciate if someone would call you, and that had nothing to do with the character of the partner. Now compare it with another statement that you would say. You never think about anyone but yourself. You are so irresponsible. Like, can you hear the difference? There's a huge difference. In the second part, you're attacking the person. You are criticizing. You are not complaining. You are criticizing. You are affecting the other person by targeting their character, by targeting their humanness. You are irresponsible, and that's why you don't call. So, what's the better way to tell them? I felt worried when you didn't call, and I would appreciate if you can, let me know the next time if you're not able to call, and anything like that, right? So there's a difference between these two. The second attacks the personality, the person's identity, and the first sentence actually focuses on what happened and how it affected you. Now, when people they feel attacked, they will stop listening to you. They will not listen to you, and their brain will start shifting from understanding to becoming defensive. If you're targeting someone's identity, they will become defensive. They will feel like they have to defend themselves, and they will not listen to you. So that's the difference between these two statements that almost all of us can recognize. So John Gottman, he recognized something called as gentle startup. Instead of blaming, describe your experience. Like a simple structure could be, when this happened, or I felt, or what I need is. Like I focus more on what happened, on what you need, rather than what that other person should be labeled. Right? So this is a gentle start. So you can say when our plans changed without when our plans changed without telling me, I felt disappointed because I was really looking forward to seeing you. Next time, I would really appreciate a quick message. Now that approach actually opens the door to a conversation instead of uh, negative conflict. It invites cooperation, conversation rather than defensiveness. So the first horseman is criticism, and the way to counter that is gentle start. Not the focus shouldn't be on the person's identity, but on the event and on what you need. The second horseman that Gottman identified was contempt, and according to his research, um, it is actually the strongest predictor of relationship breakdown. Contempt is basically more than just being frustrated. Right? It is something that you can say it ends up with disrespect. It says that I am better than you, or you do not deserve my respect. And it makes the other person feel like they are not worthy. And it damages their self-esteem. You are targeting their self-esteem. Contempt means you are targeting their self-esteem. Again, the target part is the other person. The other person is being targeted. Again, this is not helpful. This is not healthy. And you do so through, sarcasm, through mocking, through, eye rolling. Non-verbal behaviors like these are strong, indicators that you are contempting someone. You may, like we said in the first part, um, you know, um, you are irresponsible. You are name calling. You are labeling. You are speaking down to someone. You are making them feel small. And sometimes you don't even have to say these things, out loud. You might be smirking. You might be rolling your eyes, and the other person will feel this nonverbal communication much more strongly than any words that you may have to say. What is the antidote to this thing? What is the antidote to this type of horseman? The antidote to this is appreciation, genuine appreciation. Now, I use the word gentle, genuine appreciation. Fake compliments, I said the word genuine because fake compliments are very easy to be identified. You can, pretend that everything is wonderful when it is not. You may be praising someone and giving them a fake compliment. They will, if they have a high, sensitivity to understanding nonverbal cues and verbal cues and signals, they may sense that you are lying from, miles away. So don't give fake compliments. Don't pretend about lying, and don't pretend about saying anything. Don't pretend about a reality that doesn't exist. Be honest, genuine with your appreciation. And only when an appreciation is genuine would it be helpful. Now, you don't have to wait for birthdays, you don't have to wait for anniversaries. Just out of the blue, in ordinary moments, tell someone, thank you for making time for me. I really appreciate that, how patient you were with me today. If you were difficult today, you can tell the other person, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for being with me when I was such a difficult person today. And these things actually sound very small, but they are not. They're much more impactful than you throwing a surprise birthday party for them, or throwing a surprise anniversary party for them. The best things are, random, small, and genuine. So genuine appreciation. These small acts actually can be great for you to actually, turn a situation ending up with a conflict into something that can actually make your relationship better. Now the third horseman, it is defensiveness. Defensiveness. Um, I'd like you to think honestly about this one in a way that almost all of us, almost all of us do it, especially in our relationship. Someone is giving us a feedback. If we are with a partner, they are telling about something they felt that they needed to convey to us. How do we respond? Before they even finished talking or speaking, we jump to becoming defensive. We don't let them speak. And I'm talking about a situation where someone is not attacking our identity. They're actually giving us a genuine feedback about a situation, and they're sharing something that may have actually been affecting them. And how do we respond? We tell them, okay, you do the same thing. Right? Or maybe I only did that because you did so and so. Right? You never understand, and we become counter defensive to something that we believe is targeting our identity. So we need to stop with this defensiveness. There should always be some space of receiving feedback from your partner, if of course it is genuinely coming out from a good place. And it's not something I'm not referring to mocking. I'm talking about genuine feedback that can actually help you in becoming a better person. Or someone who actually loves you would definitely find a private time to share that with you. Nobody who actually loves you is going to humiliate you in the public, of course. I'm talking about someone who's genuinely sharing their feedback with you in a private space. So don't become defensive. Defensiveness is a problem that actually tells the other person that your experience is not as important as proving that I'm not wrong. And as a result, they actually often just feel unheard. They will feel like they are becoming frustrated, and they will feel like they are, uh, like hitting their head on the wall. So it's going to end up with, of course, the damaging part of the conflict. The healthier part in an argument is when you start taking responsibility. It's only the mature way out, taking responsibility, even if it's just for one small part of a situation. Take some responsibilities. Of course, that doesn't mean that accepting blame for everything, even when it doesn't belong to you. It just means acknowledging that part of the problem that you can actually own. There is evidence that you may have been a contributing factor, right? So it's always good to take responsibility, and that's the antidote to defensiveness. Now, the fourth one is stonewalling. In our class 2 days back, we were talking about stonewalling that many people use as a defense mechanism when they don't know what to do, right? People emotionally shut down during a conflict. When there is an argument, they may start showing silent treatment. They will stop responding. They would avoid eye contact. Some people even physically leave that situation. And a lot of times, the other person may actually assume that this means that this person does not care. But in many instances, it's actually the opposite of this that's true. Someone is maybe trying to stonewall because they care so much about you, or they care so much about a situation, or they worry so much about an argument or a conflict escalating that they try to just shut down, and they think, of course, they think that it's going to help them out, but of course it doesn't. Eventually it doesn't help you. When we are emotionally flooded, our heart rate increases. We talked about this in one of our classes last week with our cohort one. And we talked about how in many men, stonewalling is very common. When they are emotionally flooded, their heart rate, it increases. Their breathing pattern becomes irregular. Their muscles tighten, and the brain, it shifts into a survival mode. And at that point, it becomes incredibly difficult to think about anything clearly or even communicate effectively. And continuing the conversation usually leads to saying things that we don't want to say out, or something that you may actually later regret about. Now, instead of stonewalling, of course, it's something that a lot of people cannot help, because it's something that's affecting their nervous system, and they feel like it's the healthier way out, but it's not. And you can actually change that. The antidote to this exists, named and a timed pause or a timed break instead of disappearing. For some people, they disappear for weeks. Some people disappear for months, you know. because they don't think that they have a valid answer. They don't think that they can face a conflict. Some people just vanish because disappear. Stonewalling gets to such an extent, it goes to such an extent that people do end up completely vanished, like they don't exist. And they think that they are somehow saving a relationship. Stonewalling can, if you're doing it for longer periods of time and not confronting a situation, it's not going to save a relationship. You are making the other person believe that you are abandoning them. It is making the other person feel like everything else that you are focusing on while you are stonewalling that one person, everything else apart from that one person is important to you, and they are not. Even if you think that this is a way to save a relationship, silence can never save a relationship when you are doing it for weeks, months, and years. That's not how it works. When you are shutting down someone, you're not speaking to them, it may be perceived as a form of punishment, and more so often for something they never did. So, in situation like this, you don't disappear. Choose the antidote to this. Communicate what is happening. And you can say that I'm feeling overwhelmed these days. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and I don't want to say something that I will regret, because I genuinely love you. I genuinely care for you. I need 20 minutes to calm down. I need 30 minutes to calm down, and I will come back. Please notice I'm not saying I need 2 days to calm down. I need 4 days to calm down. We are talking about adults here. And running away from your responsibilities again is not a healthy thing. And as you try to defend this phenomena, it equates to abandoning the other person, and they will perceive it as this. So you can say, I need some hours to calm myself down. And at that point, you can say that we can talk about this later when I'm feeling a little less overwhelmed, but we will definitely address this. I'm not abandoning you. I'm going to address this, but at this moment, I'm feeling very overwhelmed. I cannot talk about this. So you are protecting your relationship. You are not removing the conflict. You are saying, I'm going to address it, but at a better time when I'm better able to do so. So, so basically, you don't stonewall anyone. Stonewalling is the fourth horseman, and it's one of the most damaging ones for. It's a disaster for relationships. In many societies, it's used as a punishment, of course. But for people who are genuinely, concerned about the relationship, it may be a form of defense mechanism. But again, its consequences are bad and adverse. So you don't do that, and you choose the healthier alternative, communicating and taking a timed and named pause, named break. Pausing is not bad. Disappearing is. Disappearing is the problem, right? So we have just gotten over the four types of things that actually damage a relationship rather than making it better, because these are the things that are actually perceived as as things that may make a relationship better. Now there is conflict. Now we are changing the way we are approaching a conflict. We are not contempting the other person. We are not criticizing. We are not disappearing. We are not becoming defensive. We are changing the way we approach a relationship, a conflict. We are changing the way we are communicating, right? So now I want you all to reflect on what does actually, what for you, what does actually a healthy relationship look like? Is there a conflict in that relationship or not? What do you think about it? What is it like? Because we just view that none of these things are the center of a conflict. Contempt, defensiveness, criticism, all these things are not the center of a conflict. These are the ways we are approaching a conflict. So, where is the problem that affects your relationship? The problem is with the way we approach. The conflicts are not the problem. As we started off the session with the idea that many people believe that you cannot have a good relationship if you have arguments, if you have disagreements, if you, and that's the biggest mistake. And the biggest mistake is that we believe that there are no arguments, and also that we think that we have to win at all costs. So, for me, if I say, if I have to answer this question, then instead of asking in a conflict who is right, again, I come back to this question that what does this relationship need right now? Sometimes our relationship does require that we have some level of accountability. Sometimes we need to clarify, sometimes we need to explain. Sometimes we do need to apologize, and does not make you the smaller person in that situation. So, what are some things that you can say in a situation like that where you have a conflict and your relationship matters more to you than that conflict, and the other person is genuinely hurt? What can you say? Maybe you can say, I can understand why that hurt you. I can understand why that hurt you. Instead of saying, what, how could this hurt you? This is not such a big issue, right? We say this so often. We invalidate our partners so often. How can we expect any kind of warmth after invalidating our partner? You can say to your partner when they share a painful incident, thank you for telling me. I can understand why that hurt you. I didn't realize your experience. And I'm sorry that my words came across that way. I didn't mean it, but I'm sorry it came across like that. So you are shifting from me versus you to us versus the problem. This is so commonly said, and it is the main thing, the main shift that is required. Us versus the conflict versus the problem, rather than me versus you. When you are partners, you are partners. When you are friends, you are friends. It's you versus them. It's never you versus, each other. Now, I want you to think about a recent disagreement, just like we did in the beginning when we were practicing the mindfulness activity. I want you to think of a recent disagreement. It doesn't have to be something major, it could be a kitchen argument with your partner. And just like choose a conversation that was not the way it should have been, or the way as you would have liked. It didn't go as the way you wanted it to go. Just think about it. Doesn't have to be anything major. Close your eyes for a moment and try to picture that conversation from the beginning to the end. How did you begin that discussion? Now, I'm not talking about the conversation in the beginning that we had about the person you can be the best version of yourself with. Just focus on that difficult interaction you recently had. Only the difficult one, not the positive one. How was the conversation started? Did you start it with criticism? Did you start it with contempt? Were you being defensive when they shared their feelings? Or you shared your feelings by being mindful of your words, and it was your focus was on you rather than them. You were focusing on sharing your feelings rather than on the person's identity. You are irresponsible. That's not what you said. How did you approach it? And when the other person spoke, were you trying to understand them on their perspective? Or were you preparing an answer or a defense in your mind? What was it? Did any one of you become defensive? Did any one of you appreciate each other? Did the argument escalate, or did any one of you withdrew from the argument? If it didn't go the right way, can you imagine that conversation by implementing and replaying what we have, by using all those things that we have learned today? Would that conversation be a bit different? If you are beginning gently, if you are being curious, if you are acknowledging the other person's feelings before actually becoming defensive, you are taking responsibility for your own part. Both of you are working together to solve the problem instead of trying to win or yelling. How different would it be? Keep your eyes closed if you haven't. Close it again. And if you're able to imagine it without closing, then that's fine as well. How did that conversation go if you implemented what you learned today about communicating in a conflict? How would that help? Now take a slow deep breath in through your nose and breathe out from your mouth. I hope that the conflict, when you replayed it with the things you learned today, I hope that conflict ended up well in your mind. And if not, then I would want you to identify one thing that you're going to implement and, build as a habit this week. From whatever we have learned today, it would be appreciation. It's the easiest. Appreciation, genuine appreciation. There is always something to appreciate about your partner. So if you do that, that could be actually the easiest way out. There could be anything. It cannot be that there is nothing to appreciate about your partner. If not, then they wouldn't be your partner, right? There is something about them that made you appreciate them. And that's why you are together. And practice these things. Practice these things, choose one thing. Choose any one of these things and practice them. And ask yourself, what is one thing I genuinely want to appreciate about this person that I've never said out loudly? Say it, talk about it. Because we are not going to avoid conflicts. That's not healthy. Stonewalling is horrible. That's not what you have to do. You have to approach the conflict in a healthy way by being mindful, by being aware, and by making it us versus the problem rather than me versus you. So, thank you everyone for joining in today. I hope you all have a great day ahead. Does anyone have any questions? If not, then we can call it a day. Or if you want to share anything, you are open to share it. All right. That is it, I guess. All right. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day ahead. See you all tomorrow at the same time and same link.